After a little bit of setup, we've now got Postgres up and running locally. Now, just to make sure it's really clear, at this point in time, people watching this video are going to be in one of three possible states. You might be running Postgres on Mac OS with the Postgres app, or you might be running Postgres on Windows or Linux. Depending upon the operating system that you are currently running on and how you set this database up, you now have a running copy of Postgres with a different number of databases inside of it. So if you are on Mac right now, and you go to that pgadmin window and expand databases right there, you might see two separate databases. One will be called Postgres, and the other is going to be named after your username on your computer. If you're on Windows or Linux, you're probably going to see only one database called simply Postgres. So it'll be that one right there. In just a little bit, we're going to create our own separate database and then start adding in some additional stuff to it. So even though you are going to see possibly a different number of databases than I do right now, if you're on Windows or Linux, don't sweat it. We're going to make sure that we are all working from the same point in just a moment. Before we do, I want to talk a little bit about what we just set up on our machine. So we not only installed Postgres, we also installed something called pgadmin, specifically pgadmin 4. So let's talk a little bit about what pgadmin is and why we installed it at all. So pgadmin is a web-based tool to manage and inspect a Postgres database. We can take a look at all the different tables, all the different rows inside there. We can run arbitrary queries. We can arbitrarily modify data inside the database as well. It is essentially our one-stop stop to change anything that we can possibly imagine about our database. We can make use of pgadmin to connect to a database that is installed locally, so running on your computer. We could also connect it to a remote database as well, so one that might be running through, say, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or on Google Cloud. Right now, we probably just have, unless you have already set up pgadmin in the past, just one server listed right here. So this is the server that is running on your local machine. Now, speaking of server, one other quick thing I want to mention. At this point in time, we have installed a piece of software called the Postgres server. Inside of Postgres, we can have multiple different databases. So right now, we do not have any databases with any users table or anything like that. This is just as kind of a diagram or informational diagram. So one Postgres server, which is currently running on your computer, can have multiple different databases inside of it. Even though we can create multiple databases inside of one Postgres server, in general, whenever you are building out an application, you are only going to tie it to one single database. So if you are building a to-do application tomorrow, you would only create one database for it. There's usually just about no reason to create multiple databases for one single app. And of course, there are corner cases, but we're going to run with it right now, one database per application that we are working on. The only reason that we can create databases or multiple ones inside of one single server is so that you can work on, say, more than one application on your machine. So if tomorrow you are going to work on, say, some kind of to-do application, you might want to have some kind of to-do database to support it. And maybe the day after that, you're going to work on, say, a phone purchasing application. And so you might want to have a phone database to support that app. And you would not want any of the tables or any of the data between these two databases to kind of intermingle or accidentally kind of cross-contaminate with each other. So moving forward, we're going to always be working out of one single database at a time. And the only reason that we're going to create a different database is if we are trying to tackle some new application or some very different topic. All right, so now that we understand a little bit more about what we just installed, quick pause right here, and we're going to move on in just a moment.